If you've built a successful career, you're financially independent, and you've created a life you're genuinely proud of, but dating is the one area that keeps not working, no matter how clearly you can see what's going wrong, this video is for you. What you may not realise is that the skills that made you exceptional everywhere else are actively working against you here. I've worked with women who are incredibly capable, women who've built successful careers, led businesses or teams, and have created lives with real freedom and stability. But in dating, they kept repeating the same dynamic with different men. Today, I'm going to walk you through the 5-step method I use with my clients to finally change that. Not just to understand it better, but to change it. The women who come to me almost always say the same thing. I know exactly what's happening. I can feel myself starting to overthink after a great date. I tell myself I'm not going to start imagining the future after only just meeting him, but then I do it anyway. I notice myself trying to keep the momentum going, trying to figure out what he's thinking, trying to make sense of every little shift in his energy, and I watch myself spiraling every time. And that's what happens when you've spent your life becoming incredibly skilled at solving problems, and then find yourself facing one that asks for a completely different approach. These are women who solve hard problems for a living. They research, they analyse, they understand their patterns precisely, and then they repeat the same dynamic with the same man with a different face anyway. I know this because I lived it. I was able to articulate my patterns with clarity. I knew exactly what I was doing and why and how it connected with my past. I did a lot of therapy, but I still played out the patterns because real change happens in the space between insight and instinct. I'll say that again. Change happens in the space between insight and instinct, between knowing what's happening and responding differently when your nervous system gets activated. And that gap is exactly where the Elegantly Wild method works. Here's the core insight. The skills that made you successful everywhere else, analysing and optimising and staying in control and making things happen, are the exact skills that create friction the moment real intimacy is required. In your career, effort produces results. So when dating isn't working, the instinct is to apply more of the same, more self-awareness, more reflection, more understanding. But the more you try to manage dating and relationships, the more you fill every gap before he has the chance to step into it, the further you push away the very thing you're looking for. It's the natural result of bringing an extraordinary set of skills into an area of life that asks for something different. Relationships aren't built by solving them. They're built through thousands of small moments of how you respond to one another. The Elegantly Wild method works where your patterns actually begin, in the nervous system, in the split second before you've consciously decided what to do. It's the moment that you notice a text hasn't arrived and your body starts scanning for what's wrong. It's the moment he goes quiet for a day and you feel the urge to reach out, subtly ask for some reassurance or keep the connection moving. It's the moment he says something that makes you feel uncertain and your chest tightens before your mind even realises why. Those responses happen automatically. They don't begin with thought, they begin with your nervous system interpreting what's happening and preparing you to respond. That's the level where lasting change happens. The 5 steps. Step 1, clear the residue. The first step is the one most high-functioning women are most certain they've already completed. They've processed the past relationship, they've replayed every conversation, figured out where it went wrong, taken responsibility for their part, read the books, listened to the podcasts, journaled about the lessons, and genuinely believe they've moved on. But there's a specific difference between understanding what happened and completing it at the body level. The women I work with can give you a precise account of every relationship that didn't work, and yet they are still being shaped by those relationships in so many different ways they don't even realise. Still selecting men who feel familiar in ways they can't articulate. Still reacting with an intensity that doesn't quite match what's actually in front of them. Still approaching new relationships through expectations or limitations that were formed in old ones. The work is completing the emotional process that never fully finished at the time. When a relationship ends, capable women often do exactly what they're good at. They get back to work, rebuild their lives, and keep moving forward. But the body doesn't always move on at the same pace, and it can keep carrying unfinished emotional responses long after the mind has decided that the chapter is closed. As that clears, the changes show up naturally in who she chooses, what she accepts, and how she experiences dating. Step 2, regulate the nervous system. This is the step that surprises high-functioning women most. because they are so used to their mind being the most powerful tool they have. But you know what? The nervous system doesn't care about your mind. When he doesn't text back, you don't first have a thought, you first have a reaction. Maybe your stomach tightens, or maybe your chest feels heavy. For high-functioning women, the reaction is often immediate. Maybe he's busy. Did I say something wrong? Let me think back to the last conversation or the last date. Within seconds, they're analysing instead of noticing what's happening inside their bodies. The nervous system doesn't respond to diagnoses or logic, it responds to experience. And the work is learning to catch the trigger before it pulls you into analysis, developing a physical awareness of the moment it starts, what I call the tiny niggle before it turns into a wave, and building the capacity to stay present with it rather than immediately converting it into something to figure out. That's where you gain something you didn't have before: choice. So the trigger still happens, but instead of automatically acting from it, you can notice it, you can stay with it, and then from there you can decide what you actually want to do next. Step 3, reconnect to what you actually want. This step surprises most of the women I work with because they assume that they already know what they want. And they do, in the abstract. A relationship, something lasting, and a genuine connection. But when I ask them to get specific, what does it feel like when you're in a dynamic that's right for you? What do you need from a partner on just an ordinary Tuesday? What are the non-negotiables regardless of how much you like someone? The answers are much less clear than their professional goals. High-functioning women are extraordinarily good at adapting and at just making things work. But in dating, that adaptability can mean spending months in a dynamic that doesn't actually fit, because she's become so skilled at making relationships work that she forgets to ask whether this relationship actually works for her. This step builds a precise internal map of what she actually needs, what it feels like in her body when something's right, and what it feels like when she's accommodating rather than choosing. From that point on, dating becomes much simpler. She starts recognizing what's right for her much earlier on. Her decisions come from a deep understanding of her own needs, values, and emotional experience, not just from chemistry alone, first impressions, or trying to turn potential into compatibility. Step 4, build the relational skills. This is probably my favorite part because it consistently surprises most of the women that I work with. They're already excellent communicators, but this kind of communication that creates success at work isn't always the kind of communication that creates emotional safety, trust, and intimacy in a relationship. At work, communication is designed to create clarity, solve problems, and to move things forward. In a relationship, communication is also shaping how safe, how understood, and how connected two people feel with one another. The same style that earns respect professionally, being efficient, being solution-focused, and quick to resolve problems, can unintentionally leave very little room for emotional connection. When every difficult moment is analysed, solved, or managed, a man has few opportunities to step in, to understand you, to reassure you, or to contribute to the relationship. And instead of feeling invited into the experience, he can end up feeling like he's being managed somehow from the outside. This step develops a completely different set of relationship skills. How to express a need without making him feel criticised and going on the defence. How to ask for reassurance when you're feeling insecure about something. How to tell him what you need without feeling that you have to justify or over-explain yourself. How to leave space for him to show up rather than carrying the relationship forward yourself. How to have difficult conversations without shutting down, chasing, or escalating the situation. For women who already communicate exceptionally well, this is often the skill that transforms their relationships. They learn to communicate in ways that build emotional safety, trust, intimacy, while still staying true to who they are. Step 5, practice in the dating arena. This final step is where everything comes together. Understanding these principles is one thing, but living them in a real conversation with the real man in front of you is something else entirely. I feel so passionate about the dating arena because it's where these new skills are built. Every date, every conversation, every text message, and every moment of uncertainty is an opportunity to practice a different response, even if you know already that he's not your person. To notice yourself checking WhatsApp to see if he's been online. To notice the urge to send another message, suggest another date, or to find a reason to keep the conversation going. To notice yourself saying, "It's fine, don't worry about it," when actually you're feeling really disappointed. This is where lasting change happens. Many high-functioning women become discouraged because they're used to mastering things quickly. But relationships are built through experience, not in the therapy room. Every awkward conversation and every emotional trigger becomes an opportunity to strengthen a new pattern. They stop judging every date by whether it leads to a relationship, and they start using dating to strengthen the woman they're becoming. They start approaching each interaction with curiosity instead of pressure, and that's when dating starts to feel lighter, less emotionally draining, and far less confusing, and more like something that you look forward to. These 5 steps build on each other in a specific sequence. You can't regulate the nervous system while you're still being pulled by unfinished residue. You can't get clear on what you want while the nervous system is in protection mode. You can't build new relational skills if you don't know what you need within a relationship. And you can't practice differently in the dating arena without all of the above as your foundation. Most approaches address one piece in isolation. Therapy builds understanding, but rarely reaches the body. Self-development increases self-awareness, but doesn't change how the nervous system responds in the moment, in the very real and sometimes uncomfortable moments. Dating advice gives tactics, but with no foundation underneath. The Elegantly Wild method brings all 5 steps together, working in the space between and helping to bridge the understanding that you already hold of your patterns and actually changing them for good in real time. This work has honestly changed every single area of my life, not just dating, and I feel so passionate about it because I love watching a woman take what she learns here and use it to upgrade everything else, her career, her friendships, and how she shows up for herself. If you're watching this and recognizing yourself, here's where to start. First, get specific about what's still running, not what you've already processed intellectually, what's still shaping who you choose and how you respond. The story about men you didn't consciously write, but are still very much living in. Second, notice your nervous system before your mind. The next time something shifts in a dating situation, catch the very first signal before the analysis starts. Not the story you tell yourself about it, the physical thing that happens a half second before the story starts. Maybe it's your breath catching for a second. Maybe it's your jaw tightening before you clocking it. Maybe it's that specific stomach drop feeling when it's been 3 hours and still nothing. Maybe it's your shoulders creeping up towards your ears. Maybe it's the pull to open his profile again, even though you've already checked it twice. Maybe it's rereading your last message to see if you said too much. That's the signal, before the thinking starts, before you've decided what it means. And that's where you have the greatest opportunity to change the pattern. Thirdly, let dating be a practice, not a project. Go on dates without needing them to achieve any particular outcome. The next time you feel that familiar knot in your stomach, or notice yourself getting caught in your head, get curious about it instead of immediately trying to resolve it, because that's where you stop reacting from old patterns and start creating the relationship you actually want. I want to be direct with you before I finish. This is not a linear process. You will have moments where the pattern takes over, despite everything you now understand about it. That is completely normal and very much part of the process. In fact, that's what we want, because change happens in spirals, not in straight lines. And for women who are used to measurable progress, this can be one of the hardest things to sit with. The shift shows up in ordinary moments. You notice yourself reaching for your phone and decide not to send the extra text. He takes longer than usual to reply, and you don't spend the next 3 hours wondering what changed. You express that you're upset or struggling instead of pretending that everything's fine. Those moments accumulate, and over time, your nervous system starts to experience calm, safety, and connection as familiar instead of anxiety, overthinking, and overfunctioning. If this resonated, there are 2 places to go next. If you want to understand more about why self-awareness alone isn't enough to change these patterns, I have a full video on exactly that right here on the channel. Or if you're ready to talk about where you specifically are and what's keeping you stuck, come and find me on Instagram. The link is in the description below.